Ted Matcom. I'm the Wisconsin Market President for Gorman & Company. Thank you all for coming today to celebrate the grand opening of Carbon at Union Corners. This $19 million 90-unit mixed-use development with 19,000 square feet of neighborhood retail space was named in honor of the history of this site. This used to be the old French battery site, and carbon, as an essential ingredient of batteries that used to be manufactured here, is also an essential catalyst for this Union Corners 11-acre master development. When you think of the word catalyst, you think of the Wisconsin Housing Economic Development Authority, or WHEDA. WHEDA is helping many communities throughout Wisconsin as an economic catalyst to encourage quality housing and commercial uses. In this development, WHEDA provided low-income housing tax credits in the amount of $8.5 million to assist in financing the construction of this high-end but affordable housing for lower-income residents. For the past 7 years, Wayman Winston has led the charge for WHEDA to be a major economic force in creating housing and jobs in Madison throughout Wisconsin. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce our first speaker, Executive Director of WHEDA, Wayman Winston.
Good morning. I'm really delighted to be here. Ted, thank you for those kind words. I'm really honored to be here, in part because when I came to WHEDA many years ago, one of the first people I met and some of the early work I did was with Gary Gorman. And the Gorman Company has just been stellar in its development of affordable housing and really having a commitment of using its ingenuity, its talent, its staff, its capital to do phenomenal work. Not just building housing, not just a brick and mortar, but building community. And I want to recognize that, as many of you know, even with companies like Gorman and many others, there's serious housing needs in both the City of Madison and the greater county of Dane. There are over 23,000 families that are sacrificing food and other basic needs just to keep a roof over their heads. And I think we can do better. And I have to acknowledge the work of the City of Madison. It has no equal in its approach in committing its talent and its dollars with developers and WHEDA to produce units here. And I'm just both gratified and thankful for the work of the city, because it really does take all of us working together to get this work done. Ted talked about the $820,000 and $850 in tax credits that were awarded. And that's pretty significant. But I want to give you a different data point that I think is important. We all know that traditional affordability is spending no more than 30% of your income for housing. And if you know that, you also know that there are so many families that are paying a lot more than that. We've started to calculate what impact of affordable housing has for the pocketbooks of families. So in the Union Carbon apartments, 76 of the 90 units are affordable. And we estimate that these 76 families are going to save $840,000 in going from paying much greater portions of their salary for housing and moving now in the Union Carbon apartments. Now, this $840,000 a year is nothing to sneeze at. That $840,000 is disposable income that will allow that family to take those dollars that live in this project wherever they want, whether it's to buy school clothes, repair their automobile, again, their dollars to do what they will. Over the 15-year period, we estimate that the savings for the tenants just in the 76 affordable units is $12.6 million. And so whether you're the city or the other participants, there is a dividend that is paid here every month when that tenant is paying their rent. You know that they are getting a savings because they're only paying a third of their income for housing in a market where there's so little affordable housing, so little housing to meet the demand that rents outstrip the wages of our citizens. So on this beautiful day, I am both delighted and proud to be part of this effort of a public-private partnership. I am both honored and pleased by the extraordinary work that the City of Madison is doing. I want to acknowledge that I get the opportunity to come up here and speak on behalf of WIDA, but I'm simply the executive director. The staff, of which my colleague Sean O'Brien, who heads commercial lending, is who gets the work done. They turn the sausage into something that is both appetizing and our customers keep coming back over and over. And for our board, who's also committed to the same mission, that we have true alignment between staff and board of trying to do all we can to reduce the challenges that our families have in finding affordable housing. And so again, I'm delighted to be here. This is an extraordinary project. I look forward to working with both the city and Gorman on future projects right around the corner. Thank you.
Thank you, Wayman. Great words. But in addition to low-income housing tax credits provided by WIDA for carbon, you have to have an investor that buys these tax credits and acts as your partner for 15 years. One of our most trusted partners stepped to the plate to purchase these tax credits, which was RBC, the Royal Bank of Canada. RBC is represented today by Dan Kearse. Dan, where are you? There he is. Who traveled today maybe the farthest, all the way from Cleveland to be here. So thank you, Dan. Another major financing partner that made this project possible was Citibank. From the master planning requirements to the complex commercial condominium structure of carbon, Citibank took this all in stride and was extremely professional and swift in its execution of both construction and permanent financing for this project. Today, is Natalie here? Oh, Natalie Moritz? No? Well, she was supposed to be here. She was coming from Chicago. She got the second place award for traveling the farthest to today's ceremony. Another essential financial partners who made this project happen are McFarland State Bank, Jim Walker or Michael Mordeski. There they are. Hey, guys. McFarland State Bank, who's a local community bank that's been around for years and years, took a leap of faith for the neighborhood retail component of this, which is its own condominium, and financed that separately, which really made this deal happen. So thank you guys for all you did there. Another partner, Dane County. Is there anyone here from Dane County? I didn't get introduced to them, but Dane County provided funds through their affordable housing program, and the Chicago Federal Home Loan Bank provided much-needed gap financing. And we thank both of you for your financial support and dedication to affordable housing. Our final financial partner was the City of Madison, who provided $1 million of gap financing early. And that was very key because this early commitment of $1 million in their affordable housing program really allowed us to be competitive in the WIDA scoring process, which got us the tax credits for this project. The City of Madison actually played two key roles: a gap funding lender and the one who took control of this key Madison site in order to facilitate a comprehensive master development plan. The master plan for Union Corners did not happen overnight. There were many neighborhood meetings to determine the use of these parcels within the Union Corners development. This process of community input was shepherded by Marcia Rummel, the alderperson for this neighborhood in District 6. Since 2007, Marcia has been a great ambassador to this neighborhood, an alder that truly embodies the mind and spirit of her constituency. The way Marcia conducts herself is professional, cool as a cucumber, and with passion. Her great work as an alder has also been recognized by her peers in the Common Council, who have elected her their president. President of the Common Council, Marcia Rummel. It's a unique blend.
Thank you. I didn't know I was a passionate cucumber, so I kind of like that idea. Thank you, everybody. This is a very moving moment for all of us who in the neighborhood and Gorman team and all the other partners, because it took a long time to get here. And Ted mentioned the planning, so I really sort of start this being here today with the previous mayor deciding to purchase this property and using land banking funds after the crash of 2007 and 8. And we kind of sat on it for a while, not really knowing exactly what was going to happen. And the Gorman team came to the mayor's office, this mayor, Mayor Soglin, and said, UW Clinic might be interested in locating here. And the mayor could have just, done a deal with Gorman and just made it happen. But he agreed to go through an RFP process to have, the best vendor, best applicant be selected. And that was Gorman, because they did the due diligence of understanding all the work the neighborhood had done to have a vision for this place, because it started prior to the crash with the McGrath team. And so then we had to refine that, and that took time, but it was a real great partnership. And, lately the mayor's office has been talking about people-powered planning, and I believe this is a really good example of people-powered planning, because we can engage with the Gorman team to say, how do we have this site be appropriate for its setting? What kind of amenities will be there? And they listened to us and did what they could. I mean, we want what we want, and they're like, we have to make this work financially, but they put it together, and I think they did a great job. And so I'm so proud of that. And like Ted also said, and the director of WIDA, the Mayor Soglin has taken, a really brilliant initiative, and that is to, in advance of WIDA applications, help select really good, viable projects to give them money. And just last night we did that again. So hopefully every year a couple projects go forward with some affordable housing fund money that then when they go and apply in the early part of the year, they get more points because they have a partner with some money. So that's been a really successful model, and I'm really proud to hear that it's a statewide example of best practices, because I'm proud to have supported that initiative. So again, I want to thank everybody for coming today. It's now I feel like the whole Gorman team are my friends, and there's more. There's across the street, and we didn't really mention it, but they also got a WIDA tax credit, so we hopefully will be here again. We were here for the clinic, and then finally I hope we're here for the corner piece. And the neighborhood hopes for a grocery store, but we'll see what you guys can do. And this is a great example of creating a neighborhood. So it's not just like plopping in some buildings, but there is now a community that will evolve here and be part of a bigger neighborhood, and I'm proud to be part of it. Thank you for coming.
Thanks, Marcia. The citizens of the City of Madison are very fortunate to have someone the caliber of Natalie Erdman leading their planning and development efforts. Natalie has embraced the benefits of quality, affordable housing as an essential element to good community planning. She has implemented policies that have provided quality, affordable housing in many neighborhoods throughout Madison. We are pleased to welcome our next speaker, Natalie Erdman.
So Wayman Winston and Marcia Rummel covered many of the things that I would have to say, but I'll see if I can add some of additional refinement. When I came to work at the city in 2010, Union Corners was a flat site with a pile of bricks in the middle of it, and we were in the midst of the Great Recession. And the city's vision for this site was really to see a complete neighborhood with all the things that people would need: access to good transportation, jobs, daycare, affordable housing and market rate housing, things like grocery. And we wanted to find a partner who could bring those things to reality. And Gorman and Company was the partner that we needed to, one, be patient and make sure that we had the best quality of development, but also to look at all of those components and to work with the neighborhood so that this new piece of the neighborhood would dovetail into what the rest of the neighborhood is and create a stronger and more vibrant experience for the people of the City of Madison. A key component to that vision of a neighborhood and of a center to a neighborhood was affordable housing and creating a place where you could have diverse groups of people living together, diverse in age, diverse in income, diverse in ways of life. And I think Carbon is really a good example of that mixed income with some quality commercial space that creates those vital experiences for people living here and a way for us to relate to one another in a good quality of housing. If we take that down to specifically the affordable housing component, at the City of Madison, we start with the factor that we know we have 50,000 renter households in the city, and that half of those renter households pay more than 30% of their income in housing costs. And about 8,000 of those households pay more than 50% of their income in housing costs. And we know that stable, affordable housing creates better outcomes for children in school. It creates better outcomes for parents in employment. It creates better health outcomes. And so to have housing in a location where you can access a job at UW Health or a daycare opportunity at Red Caboose or entrepreneurial business space on the first floor, those types of things will make people who live in our community more successful in school and in employment and in health. And that's what we're really looking for. So this is really a great day for us, and in recognition of those needs for housing. 3 years ago, the Common Council and Marcia Rummel mentioned this. The Common Council and the mayor set aside $4.5 million a year to create an estimated 250 units of affordable housing per year. And I think this was in our first round of applications. And so this is the beginning of the fruits of those labors and that commitment. We couldn't do this with our small participation. We couldn't do this without somebody like Gorman and Company committing their financial resources and their human resources. We couldn't do this without an organization like WIDA providing significant capital to the transaction. And so today I am really truly grateful for the commitment of the mayor and the Common Council to affordable housing in our community. I'm really grateful for the commitment of organizations like Gorman and Company, of both their financial and their human resources to high quality affordable housing. And I'm deeply grateful for WIDA to continue to partner with us. So the last thing that I'm going to add is similar to what Wayman said. I don't really do that much. The work that's done in our group is really done by people like Jim O'Keefe, who's here, and Julie Spears, who is here. And I really want them to be acknowledged for the parties who make the wheels turn and are really pushing through the hard detail that has to get done to make developments like this successful.
Thanks, Natalie. As important as Marcia Rummel is to her District 6, the fabric of the Shank-Atwood-Starkweather-Yahara neighborhood, or SASY as it's commonly known, is represented by its chair, Brad Hinkfist. There should always be a positive tension between the developers and the community representatives, and Union Corners was no exception to that. The SASY neighborhood is unique in that the commitment, intelligence, and sophistication of its residents is remarkable. It's not easy to lead that kind of group. In short, when you propose any type of development within the SASY neighborhood, you better have your ducks in a row. Brad Hinkfist, the chair of this SASY neighborhood, oversees the process within which the neighborhood provides input on proposed developments. This process, spearheaded and managed by Brad, is designed to ensure that any development fits within the current and future vision and goals of the SASY neighborhood. I think it's a good sign when the chair of the neighborhood association is willing to speak at the grand opening of development in his neighborhood. So thank goodness our next speaker is Brad Hinkfus.
Thank you, everyone. I couldn't help but think as I was sitting there how appropriate this backdrop is, because what you see is the fabric of the neighborhood behind you. And projects happen in a context. And the context that this happens is the SASY neighborhood, but it's more than that. I'm here representing not just SASY, which I'm glad that Ted pointed out it's an acronym and not an adjective, because a lot of people think that it's the latter and not the former. But they got to deal with not one, not two, but three neighborhood associations over many years, because we also had Worthington Park and we had Eakin Park involved, and to some degree Emerson East. This was a very, very complex project that spanned many years. There were many visions for this. There were an awful lot of people involved. I'm humbled by the fact that I'm a kind of a late entry to that process. We so happened to be there at the right time, carrying a lot of visions forward to try and make this work with the right partners. There had been many, many efforts. I feel like I'm standing on the shoulders of all the people who came before, who were involved, who kept this project alive. And keeping it alive is really what made for this success today. And we finally got the right mix at the right time with the right partners. So working with the City of Madison, working with Gorman and Company has been fantastic. It was a very difficult thing. We had, as other people have said, there are many iterations that we've had for this project. An awful lot of different things, different ideas that came up. When you look around you, though, I think a lot of the components here are testament to its success. As other people have said, the affordable housing component, this works within the fabric of the neighborhood. The common spaces in which you're sitting, the bike path, the walking paths that are behind and in front, the commercial space on first floor, this really is part of this neighborhood. And I am so happy to see that we're not just creating a suburban thing and dropping it here. We have the capacity as neighborhoods, as private developers, as a city to really do development right. And that's what this is. I'm glad to be able to testify to that today and to thank you on behalf of all the surrounding neighborhoods. We really look forward not only to this, but to the future chapters we have yet to come behind us and on the corner. So thank you.
Thanks, Brad. At this point, I'd be remiss if I did not call out the key players on the Gorman team that made this project happen. First of all, on the architecture team that actually designed this project, Ben Marshall is our director of architecture. I don't know where Ben is. Raise your hand. There he is back there hiding. Also a key person who went through the design process and the architecture process for the City of Madison and through the community is Mark Ott, who I see over there. Thank you, Mark. And also Mark Smith, who was another part of the architecture team and still works on some components of Union Corners, which we'll be talking about in a second. And also Chris Dean, who did a lot of the CAD work on this project. I think I saw Chris Dean here somewhere too. So thank you all for that. On the construction side, there's a little more, so I'm going to run through them a little quicker. Ron Swigham's our director. Rob Padley was the project manager. Paul Kuhn was our supervisor. Bruce Ramos, Nick Johnson, who I know is here, did a great job getting this place ready for today. Greg Fournette, Kathy Henshaw, Stacy Evert, and Tom Jones. So thank you all for all your work there. What's great about when you know you kind of hit a home run on the development side is when you're sitting here at the grand opening and there are 10 out of 90 units to be leased. So we have 80 units that are already leased in this project. That's a testament to the city and everybody who's involved. Our property manager director, Laura Narduzzi, who could not be here today, really led the effort. Sonia Drosty, is she? Sonia? She's around. There she is. Yep. Kelly Brophy, Tom Piazzantine, Fran Augenstein, who's doing all the lease up, and Scott Klein. Thank you for all of your work. Also Jenny Johnson. And also on the development team that work with me, Rachel Sneathen actually was the one who put together the original RFP that actually got us this project. So, yeah, there you go. That was a long time ago, but we can't forget you. Megan Schutz, who's the glue to our entire team. Cassandra Bishop, who prepared everything for the grand opening. Nicole Solheim, who's also worked on this and actually just did a couple TV pieces, her first TV pieces. Those are great. And Dwayne Boucher, who did all the analytic work on it and the numbers. So thanks, Dwayne, for your work as well. Our last speaker needs little introduction since he leads the group I just mentioned, and his company bears his name. He's been working to develop quality, affordable housing in neighborhoods within Madison and throughout Wisconsin for the past 30 plus years. I can personally attest that the success of Union Corners as a valuable community asset is a personal priority for Gary Gorman and has been ever since he responded to the initial city RFP. I think that was over 4 years ago, Gary? 5 years ago. Gary worked arm in arm with all the speakers that were up here today to make this master development happen. Gary?
Thanks, Ted. I was sitting there thinking about how this came about, and I would be very negligent if I didn't recognize Todd McGrath. You know, Todd was the one that negotiated the initial acquisition of this site from the Rayovac company. He spent a tremendous amount of time and money working on it, and he got caught up in the recession and it didn't work. But Todd really laid the foundation for the project that we have today. So if anybody has the ability to pass on that gratitude to Todd, please do that. This saga started for us when I got a call in 2012 from Teresa Soik from UW Medical Foundation. And she said, Gary, would you be interested in developing a clinic for us on the Union Corners site? And I had known Teresa for a long time, so I said, yeah, sure, we'd like to do that. So I went to see Mayor Soglin, who I'd known for years and years. And Paul said, hey, that's great. We want work done there. We want Gorman to come back and do more work in the city of Madison. You will work with the neighborhood. And so that's what started the process. And as Brad and Marcia mentioned, it's been in very long and multiple meetings and a lot of engagement with the neighborhood. And frankly, it was frustrating at times. But I'm very proud of the end result, because there's a lot of talk about new urbanism, live, work, and recreate within walking distance. That's what we're doing here. I mean, people will be able to live, work, recreate within walking distance. And we've created an urban village here. It's not done, but it will be. And I'm very proud of that. So thank you to all the partners. Thank you to our employees. But most importantly, I value the opportunity for our team, to work to create something that's going to be here long after all of us are gone, frankly. And Rachel, my boss, and I were talking this morning about how much we enjoy this work. And why do we enjoy this work? Because we end up actually having an impact on communities. We work in 5 states and something like 25 different cities, and we like to characterize ourselves as the private development partner to communities, as opposed to a developer that just comes in and says, all right, here's what we want to build, what do we have to do to get the permits? That's not our job, that's not our role. Our role is to partner with communities and end up with a result that really enhances those communities. So thank you all for the opportunity to do that, and I appreciate it. So I think next, we're getting a tour, aren't we, Ted? Yes, sir. But before I've got to acknowledge Ted. He's humble, and he doesn't give himself a lot of credit. But, I was kind of like the person that said, all right, we're going to do this. All right, Ted, go do it. So he did the vast majority of the work. Like Wayman and Natalie said, when you get to head up an organization, you sort of set direction, but you don't do the hard work. So Ted and the team that he acknowledged did the hard work. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Gary. Just to give you a little perspective before we leave, this is a phased development. So as Gary said, it's kind of live, work, play. And what's great about it is that anchor of the health clinic with UW Clinic was a real huge part of how we got this opportunity. This is the second phase, which is carbon. The third phase over here will be 59 units of grand family housing, which we're designing right now, about to go through the city process, and have secured a low-income housing tax credit award on that. So that will happen this spring. And then this entire plaza here is kind of a foreshadowing of what you're going to see going to East Washington to kind of bring people into the site. Bus stop over there, people will come into the site, and then we're going to have our final phase, which we call Nexus, at the corner of East Washington and Milwaukee, which will have a market rate component on it and more neighborhood retail. So we are working on those, and hopefully everything will be under construction here, which will just be kind of a mess by September of next year. But good things, and once it's done, I think everyone, as Gary indicated, will really look at this as that live, work, play goal that we were trying to achieve. So thanks to all our speakers and our financial partners and our residents that turned up today and are living here that made this carbon development happen. Also, I just wanted to put a plug in for Lutheran Social Services, who are going to be providing the social services to our residents in this building. I don't know if anyone here from LSS or not. I didn't see anybody. So now we're going to have a ribbon cutting ceremony real quick. I think it comes right across here. And would like to have all of our financial partners and speakers join me up here for that. Some photos and cutting the ribbon. And after that, I will be giving a tour. I'll just lead you through kind of the building so you can see some the retail space, which we need tenants. Anybody out there? And a couple model units that we have opened. And we also have for lunch, we have the coffee cart here, which you all saw. And then we have a food truck over here that's free. So please grab your lunch there. I don't know how they make all that food out of that little house, but they're going to crank it out for everybody here. And we have all that for your enjoyment. So thank you so much, and thanks for coming. Appreciate it.
I was just with Corey, and so I know you guys are. They miss you guys.